Hi. Thank you for attending today's reading. Let's begin. My first kiss was horrible and felt worse. I was meeting my friend Joseph at his house and playing Tekken 7 when he told me that I'd be meeting Abigail, his best female friend. He also let me know that she liked Spanx. I thought it was a very weird thing to say about someone but ignored it and kept playing. She made it to Jay's house about half an hour later and she was beautiful. A seriously good-looking person. I said hi and as soon as I turned around I understood why Jay said that she loved Spanx. She seriously liked doing it. But I got to meet her and she turned out to be a very smart and weirdly seductive woman. She made moves on me and to be honest, being the virgin that I am, I didn't know how to react, so I just went along with it. A couple of weeks later I got to meet her again at Jay's house once more. And this time I was sure I was going to make some moves of my own. Turns out doing moves is harder than reacting to them, so I just did the same thing as the last time I'd seen her. That day though, I walked her down the street when we were both leaving Joseph's house. My dad's car was just down the street where she had to make a turn to go home. Just before we split our ways I went for a hug to say goodbye. It would have been a good goodbye hug if it wasn't for the fact that she tried to kiss me in the process. Of course we didn't and she just started laughing silly and told me that she was going to kiss me. But it was okay. That caught me off guard, so I just said, well, next time, I guess, and we both went our ways. Except I didn't. I stopped midway and started rethinking my life choices. I turned 180 and started running because Abigail had already walked like 4 blocks. It was slightly raining, which only made the whole thing worse and more dramatic as it was also very cold. When I finally got to her I just told her to stop. And I hunched over to take a breath. She was scared because it was around 2 a.m. and thought I was gonna assault her. She asked me what happened and I said, in between much needed gasps of air, I won't leave until I get that kiss. She made a comment on how remarkably stupid what I did was. But she also said it was extremely cute and she started blushing. When I got closer we kissed and God was I awful at it. I can only imagine how horrible that must have been for her. The taste of sweat, rain and my saliva must not have been too nice. Once we stopped kissing she told me once again that what I did was cute and we gave each other a peck on the lips to say goodbye. The whole thing was as awkward as it could be and the girl turned out to be a very different kind of person. But to this day, romantically speaking, this is still my favorite memory and will always cherish it as a display of how stupidly brave I can be when in love. End of story. Next story. The time I smoked dope with System of a Down, February 8, 2000. The Snow Quarter had come to the State Theater in Detroit. Puya, Mr. Bungle, Incubus, and System of a Down. At the time, it was a year and a half before SOAD would release Toxicity and Incubus would release Morning View. Both their breakthrough albums. I showed up extra early that day with my GF at the time. Without getting into it, she was very much an attention seeker. We approached the line, which was barely forming, when we noticed the tour bus around the side of the building. Anyone who has been to a concert knows that tour buses are a regular sight at concert venues. But we were early enough that as we watched, off stepped Daron Malakian followed by Shavo Odagian. I was already an enormous SOAD fan, and recognized them both. Without really knowing why, we started walking towards them. My GF asked who they were, not getting into it, and I said, that's Shavo, the bass player. so she shouted out, "Shavo!" Quote. And to both of our surprise, he turned and looked. Funny how yelling someone's name will do that. He had no idea who we were, but came over anyways and said hi. As it was Michigan in 2000, you couldn't just run out to the dispensary. So we told him we would like to smoke some grass with him. He said that sounded great, but he didn't know where to go. We suggested going onto the tour bus. Natch. Shavo demurred, saying that Serge was meditating on board and didn't like it when anyone smoked around him while he did, which is super fair. We asked if we could go backstage where Darren had gone, and Shavo said he had never played there before and didn't know if we could find a secluded spot. So I suggested my truck. Amazingly, he said, "Cool." So the three of us walked about half a mile back to where my old Blazer was parked. He hopped in the front passenger seat, and we smoked a couple of bowls for a good 25 to 30 minutes while he talked about life on the road. I'll never forget when he said being a rock star was a pain in the ass. He had no address and had to have his mom collect his mail from a P.O. box. As I was a struggling musician myself for a long time both before and after this meeting, that bit of reality I always took with me. We sat discussing music for a while. Mostly Mike Patton. We all walked back to the venue, where the line had grown quite a bit. As we approached, several recognized Shavo and shouted out to him while he walked with us. He was kind and just such a great presence to be around. He didn't have any backstage passes for us, but snuck us in so we could at least skip the line. Proceeded to enjoy one of the greatest concerts I've ever been to. End of story. Next story. I saved a puppy from drowning once. I'm a bit new to Reddit and was looking for a place to share some stories of mine, and wasn't sure where else to put it. I have once saved a puppy's life. It was back in 2017 and my year group at school had gone to the river for an activity day trip. Lots of fun challenges and stuff. One involving racing in canoes. Now this river was very wide with these small islands in the middle with a house on each. The final race was to do a course weaving around a few of these mini islands. Our team was in the lead and doing well. But as we rounded our second island I noticed something in the water. Suddenly I realized it was a puppy, flailing in the water and clearly struggling. He was far out in the middle and the current was strong with high banks all around that would be very difficult or impossible for a small puppy to climb. I pointed it out to my team and we rowed closer. The puppy was on my side of the canoe so I stretched out over the water until I finally reached him and pulled him in by the collar. Then our instructor behind me helped and picked him up into the canoe. We were all very surprised that this happened and all thoughts of the race forgotten. As we wondered how we'd get him home, the poor thing was exhausted and shivering so much. We rowed closer to the island we were passing and called out to the people there asking if it was theirs. The second island we went to nearby had a man cutting wood and doing work on a boat in his garden. He had headphones in since he was using machinery and stuff so we had to yell and wave to get his attention. Turns out he was the owner. And it's lucky we found the puppy since it could have been a while until he noticed. He was very shocked and grateful as we returned his dog to him. Then we went on to finish our race with the other team being very confused with where we had been. I'm really glad we got to help the puppy and rescue it. It makes me very relieved he was safe in the end. End of story. That is all for today. If you want to support my automated channel, feel free to drop a like and subscribe. See you tomorrow.